Your creativity should not be used as a tool to gain validation from other people. It should not be used as a tool in order to gauge your worth and your value. Instead, your creativity should be a tool for self-expression. Your art, your creative practice, that is an opportunity to experience yourself more deeply. And I need you to know that you are so worth experiencing. But if you're anything like me, you may have somewhere down the line developed the idea that you're not worth experiencing. And so anything that you do, anything that you create, you try to use that as a tool to gain validation and approval from other people. And that really sucks the joy from your creative practice, and it can make you feel as though you don't really resonate with the stuff that you are making. So I have had to learn how to shift from using my art as a tool to gain validation from other people to a place where I now understand that it's a tool to express myself. And I found so much joy in the process. I found so much freedom in the sense that I now feel like I'm able to make the work that I want to make. And these are just some of the shifts, mindset shifts, that I had had to make in order to really get to this point. So that's what I want to share with you today. If you're anything like me and have struggled with this for a really long time, where you really feel like you want people to like what you make, you want it to gain attention, but there's a subtle need for that validation from others, I feel you, I got you. This is what I've learned. So grab your favorite drink. I have an orange spice iced tea today. Spicy. It's not spicy at all, actually. Can't even taste the spice, but you grab your favorite drink, get cozy, draw along if you want to, and let's dive right in. About this painting, you guys, I feel like I finally understand what the meaning of a labor of love means. Like, this was truly and genuinely a labor of love. As I mentioned in a previous video, I am currently working on writing a novel. So it's my own little passion project. I don't know if I'm gonna share it. I'd love to, but it's for me. And the characters that I'm painting right now are the main characters from my story. So this is Nuru, the guy's name is Nuru, the girl's name is Kamari, and their nicknames are Princess and Bear. So my project is affectionately codenamed Princess and Bear. I just love them so much. But y'all, this was hard. It was really hard trying to paint people that like literally just exist in your head. So even from the process of trying to find the references and all of that stuff, it was crazy. It was a complete struggle, but I really had fun. Like, I had so much fun creating this because I feel like it's a step in the direction of the kind of work that I really want to be making. And I think I've mentioned it before here, but I am so passionate about storytelling in all its forms, and I just love stories. I think they're so powerful, and I just want to be a better storyteller. And as an artist, I want to be a better visual storyteller. So this just felt like me taking those steps in that direction. I do already do visual storytelling as like my main thing. If you didn't know, I'm actually a picture book illustrator, so I illustrate children's books for a living. But I am really passionate about exploring my own work and my own stories. Picture books have like their own designated style, and I think that's great. But for me, the thing that lights me up the most is this kind of work, like telling my own stories and the things that I want to create. Like, there isn't a specific mold that I can follow and say, oh, it's exactly this or it's exactly that. But it's a lot of like really leaning into my intuition, trying things, testing, experimenting. But when I really created this illustration, I was just like, oh my gosh, this feels so right. It feels so fun. And literally, it was the first experience of me creating something that was just purely for the joy of it. Okay, not like the first experience, I've done this before, but it just really felt like home, and it really felt like me truly expressing myself. And so that was really fun. I learned a lot, as always. I learned so much, and it's so valuable. So that's that about this painting. Let's go into the first tip that I have for you in regards to how we can begin to transition from creating for love and start creating from a place of love. So the first thing that was really groundbreaking for me, even though it's not actually groundbreaking, but it really began to shift things, is understanding that no one actually gives you worth and value. It's innate. It just comes ingrained in our system. And we may think we know this, but we really lose touch with it. And I feel like the best way to come back to this understanding is just notice how people respond when there's news that someone has just had a baby, right? Because that's been happening to me left, right, and center. So many people have been having kids, and every single time I'm just like, congratulations. We congratulate them. We're excited for them. We're happy for them. But when I hear the news that someone has just had a baby, the first thing that I'm not thinking about is, wow, I'm so happy for them that they have just gotten someone who is going to take care of them in their old age, and someone who is going to help them with the dishes when they're older, and somebody who is going to take over the family business. That's not what I'm thinking. When my best friend had her baby 3 years ago, and I was with her in the hospital, and when the baby was born, I cried. I literally cried. I had no idea why I was crying, but I just cried. And I think it's just the absolute miracle of human life. And in that moment, there wasn't a single doctor or person that was like, all right, let's now have our ceremony for giving worth and value to this person. Like, that doesn't happen. So I think it's important for us to understand that we all start out like that. We all have that essence of being a miracle. The only difference between people who have a really strong sense of self-worth and those who don't are that people with a strong sense of self-worth are born into environments where that innate worth is recognized. And people who don't have a strong sense of worth are born into environments likely, or come into environments that don't recognize their innate worth and value. But just because you're born into an environment that doesn't recognize how valuable and wonderful and amazing you are, doesn't mean that you aren't. Doesn't mean that that environment has now taken away your worth and value. It's still there, perfectly intact. What tends to happen is when we are in environments that don't mirror back to us just how wonderful we are completely in our authenticity, we begin to learn to attach conditions to our worth and value. We begin to see that, oh, when we do certain things, it seems like people are happy with us or people are impressed with us. And therefore, people being happy and impressed with us must mean that I am a valuable human being. And if they're not happy and impressed with me, that means that there is something wrong with me. So we begin to link our sense of worth to things outside of us. But the problem is that if you direct your question of, am I worthy? Am I valuable? Am I enough? To something outside of yourself, the answer to that question is always going to be, it depends. It literally depends who you ask. So, for example, if I put out the question right now to the internet, is chocolate a good flavor for ice cream? No, you know what? Let's get even more controversial than that. Is chalk mint a good flavor for ice cream? Oh, spicy. What do you guys think? Is it a good flavor? I personally, completely indifferent. It's not gonna be the first thing I reach for, but if it's there, I'm gonna eat it. I don't think it's that bad. But what do you guys think? So it really just comes down to, who am I asking? It's not about like, oh, am I worthy? Am I valuable? It's, who am I asking? Because that is what is really going to influence the answer to that question. And I think we need to get to a point where we stop asking the question to people and things and situations outside of us and turn that inward and ask ourselves, do I believe that I am unconditionally worthy? Am I enough just the way that I am? Do I believe that's true of every human being? Do I think that some are more worthy than others? You need to assess that for yourself and come to that conclusion. I genuinely believe we all are just inherently born good enough. And again, it's just about whether we're born into the spaces or to caregivers who have the capacity to recognize that and mirror that back to us or not. Literally, that's just it. So the internal work then that we need to do is to begin to recognize for ourselves our own worth and our own value. Recognize, not try to gain it or create it. It's already there. We just need to recognize it. And when we do recognize it, we begin to understand that, wow, at the core of who we are, we're wonderful, amazing, incredible human beings, and we are worth expressing. We are worth taking up space in this world, however we feel is most authentic and true to ourselves to take up space. It's okay for us to do that. And when we create from that place of really fundamentally feeling grounded and connected within ourselves, to ourselves, the art that comes out from that place now becomes a connecting point, a bridge almost to connect you with the people and the places and spaces that are the best fit for you. So if you struggle with people pleasing, this may be a telltale sign that you are creating for love rather than from love. And when I say people pleasing, it's really just you're making art that you think is going to impress other people. So again, building off of the first point, it's almost like you're using this art as a tool for external validation. And I think living in a day and age of social media, it has just literally aggravated this issue of us as people seeking external validation from other people, because we now get these like dopamine hits and rewards through likes, shares, saves, and things pinging at us all the time. It creates this situation where now we begin to associate our art and sharing it with the external validation. And when the likes are high and people are engaging, we feel good. And when that's not happening, we feel bad about ourselves. But really what is happening here is that we are coupling our sense of worth to how people are responding to the things that we make. So if we're not getting any kind of response, any kind of engagement, it may feel as though it's validating what we fear about ourselves, and that's that we're not good enough. And so we take it personally. When the numbers are down or fluctuating or the apps are changing things again, it throws us off because it feels like it's an external validation of a deep core fear that we have that we are not enough. When you are creating from a place of love, then the process itself is what brings you joy. It's not about the end result. It's not about how people are going to receive it, but just the act of expressing yourself is the thing that feels good to you and brings you joy and makes you happy, because you have that innate sense that, fundamentally at the core of who I am, I'm okay. And I want to find out more about who I am and what's going on and how I see the world. And your creativity is how you do that. And so that process is where you derive the majority of the reward. So if you find that the numbers really get to you, like really get to you, this could be a telltale sign that you are using your work as a tool for validation. A good thing would be to just take a break from all of that, but I feel like taking a break is not enough if you don't fundamentally understand this and don't check this within yourself. Like, am I doing this for the validation of other people? Because ideally, you really want to get to the point where it genuinely doesn't matter how people respond to it. You need to ask yourself when you're creating, if nobody engages with this, if nobody sees this, did it give me something? Did I enjoy this? Did this make me happy? And when you can get to a place where that is enough for you, then not only are you going to improve as an artist, because chances are you're going to keep showing up because you really like what you're doing, but eventually, somewhere down the line, someone's going to notice it. Doesn't matter if it's like 5 people, 500,000 people, but you are going to find the people that resonate and connect with your work. But it needs to come first and foremost from a place where you are genuinely happy and content with what you're doing, regardless of how other people are responding to it. And for me personally, this is another reason why this piece means so much to me, because it's the first time I really felt like I was just so immersed in the process and I just had so much fun creating it. I wasn't worried about like, is this good? Are other people gonna like it? It was literally just about me expressing myself, getting to know my characters, and taking a step back and looking at it is technically, it's got some issues, okay? But it's shown me so much where my strengths are already and all the areas that I still need to improve. But I had this little conversation with myself where I was like, listen, future Vanessa is completely allowed to roast me like 2 years from now, 5 years from now. If she wants to redraw this and like critique this, that's absolutely no problem. She is free to completely roast this, but let it be known that I had so much fun creating it. And that's the most important thing I want future me to know, that I really enjoyed this and I created this from a genuine, authentic place. Even if my goals shift in the future, I know that this was made purely to make me happy, and it did. And that is such a gift that you can give to yourself when you get to the place where you're creating from a place of love. Love for yourself and love for what you make. Something that I've learned about perfectionism is it's not just an attention to detail, but it is a complete intolerance for any kind of flaws and mistakes. Up until this point, I've really been emphasizing the fact that you are worth expressing in your authenticity. And part of that is also expressing your flaws and your weaknesses. Taking this back to our childhood, the difference between people who have a strong sense of self-worth and those who don't, those who have a strong sense of self-worth, really, whenever they expressed flaws, weaknesses, they made a mistake, or they really struggled with something, they had caregivers or people in their environment who had an approach orientation towards them. So in their moments of weakness, people didn't move away from them, but they actually drew closer. And they were able to witness the fullness of that and still validate the fact that that doesn't mean that they're now unlovable just because they are showing signs of like weakness or expressing a flaw. And so that really makes it ingrained in the mind of the person that my flaws and weaknesses and making mistakes doesn't automatically equate to a loss of love. Even if I am showing maybe not the best sides of myself, I'm still gonna have that connection. On the flip side, someone who struggles with their self-worth probably grew up in an environment where whenever they expressed a flaw or a weakness, they struggled with something, that was met with some kind of disconnection. So someone moved away from them, maybe there was lots of shouting, just a lot of negative impacts for demonstrating any kind of weaknesses. And so perfectionism develops as a strategy to prevent disconnection from other people. So our young minds may come to the conclusion that, okay, I just need to get everything absolutely right. If I can get everything right, if I can get everything perfect, I'm not going to lose love. Now, using perfectionism as a strategy to maintain connection to others is a terrible strategy. It probably worked very well when we were younger, but as we grow up, we realize that this doesn't work, because we as humans are inherently flawed and life is filled with challenges. And in order to learn and grow, we have to make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, that means you already know the stuff, right? Like when you're learning something, you're only making a mistake because you don't know. So in order to know, you need to make those mistakes to figure out what you don't know so that you can learn what you do need to know. And that's just the nature of life. But if you have it in your head that it is completely not okay to make mistakes, it's going to cause a lot of internal suffering. And this is where we now really get finicky with our art, and we're just like, I just gotta get it right. I just gotta get it right. And we're so hard on ourselves. We're demanding really unrealistic, unreasonable standards of ourselves. And ultimately, when we peel back the layers, it really genuinely is just in an effort to connect with other people. But I tell you, there is a better way. And that better way is embracing vulnerability. Now, in order to do this, you have to find a safe space. And I recommend creating that safe space first and foremost within yourself. Now, I'm always going to bring it back to the internal space and the internal world, because at the end of the day, this is your kingdom. This is the one place that you have complete jurisdiction over and can influence the most. Now, because your internal world is the one place that you have complete control over, it's so important that we learn how to make that internal space a really pleasant one for us to be in, because at the end of the day, that is where we spend the majority of our time with ourselves. So learning to be a person that has your own back, that supports you, that prioritizes getting to know who you are in your authenticity, and then creating from that place, I think is going to do so much, not only for you, but also for your art, for the things that you create. And it's going to have a ripple effect and have an impact on the people that you are meant to have an impact on. It's not supposed to be everybody, but the people that are for you are going to be so for you when you are able to create from that really genuine space. All right, that's all that I had for today. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you walk away really knowing that you are so worth your authentic expression. You don't have to try and gain love and approval from anybody. It's already in there. You just need to reconnect with that. And so I am cheering you on. I believe in you so much. We need your art. We need whatever is on the inside of you. So you get in there, you figure out what's in there, and you be honest with yourself and just create from that place. Sending you all my love and light. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.